I'm the 5-Minute Professor, and today's lesson is about a man who may be our greatest president. It's possible, although you can't tell that by reading his tombstone. Thomas Jefferson is our third U.S. president, and I'll tell you in a minute why I think he may be our greatest president ever. But before we get to why he might be our greatest president, we have to look at some of the accomplishments the man had. At one point in time, he had the largest private library in North America. And then he sold it to Congress as the basis of the Library of Congress. And then he just started buying more books. This is all after his library of over 200 volumes was destroyed in a fire. In addition to that, he is considered by many people to be perhaps the smartest man to ever be president of the United States. Of course, he wrote the Declaration of Independence. He wrote he founded the University of Virginia, and he wrote the state of Virginia's laws regarding the freedom of religion. Those are the things which are listed on his epitaph, on his tombstone. What's not listed is that he was our third president. He took over for John Adams, and at the time, John Adams was a Federalist who believed in a strong federal government, and Thomas Jefferson was what they called a Democratic Republican, or a Republican, at the time, and he believed more in a looser connection with more states' rights and a less important federal government. And in spite of that, he did substantially increase the size of both the United States and the government. But what's important is that when he was elected in 1800, he did not just drive his political rivals underground, which could have happened. That could easily have happened. So just like the fact that John Adams allowed for the peaceful transfer of power to a rival, it is significant that Jefferson did not force all the Federalists into hiding when he won the presidency in 1800. Also interesting is that election of 1800. It's then that we figured out that the Constitution was, again, a flawed document. It was then that we realized the idea of the person who comes in second place being vice president is, well, ridiculous, especially if you're running a two-party system. Aaron Burr and Thomas Jefferson tied for several ballots in a row for president and vice president because that's all you voted for. You voted for president, and whoever came in second would end up being vice president. Well, they both got the same number of votes. And Aaron Burr did not simply defer, and the voting kept going on. And as a result, Thomas Jefferson never got along with his vice president, Aaron Burr. Well, to be fair, he didn't really get along with the guy that he was vice president for either, John Adams. So the man who is our second vice president, our third president, Thomas Jefferson, also responsible for doubling the size of the United States because of the Louisiana Purchase, getting that explored because he's the one who came up with the idea of the Lewis and Clark expedition. And he also had this one other little quirk. He and John Adams died on the exact same day, the 50th anniversary of what we think of as the signing of the Declaration of Independence, July 4th, 1826. Perceptum, Quispium. You know what? Before we Perceptum, before we Quispium, before we Damnatium, I think we need to address the Sally Hemings issue. Sally Hemings was a slave that was owned by Jefferson. Although, technically, it was his wife's family that owned the slaves. You see, Thomas Jefferson had a real problem with slavery because he thought that it was an abomination. He thought that it would require an answer to God. Thomas Jefferson was a deist. He believed in God, but he did not believe in most organized religions. But he did believe that there was going to be a reckoning because of slavery. And he probably fathered at least one child with his slave, Sally Hemings. But hey, She was the half sister to his wife because he his wife's father had fathered a child with his slave. So I'm sure it's fine. It's a Virginia thing we wouldn't understand. Perceptum, quispium, damnitium. Learn something, damn it. I'm the 5-Minute Professor, and thank you very much for listening to today's lesson. If you have any comments at all, please put them in the comments section down below. And of course, like it and subscribe to the channel. But most important, if you liked it, if you commented, and if you subscribed, tell your friends. Perceptum, quispium, damnitium. Learn something, damn it.